Hello everybody, I hope you're doing great. Welcome to another great lesson here on English Fit. So, what do you guys know about transitive and intransitive verbs? What's the difference? We will speak about transitive and intransitive verbs here in this lesson. Actually, a transitive verb is a verb that requires an object in order to receive an action. For example, we usually say, the speaker discussed different marketing strategies in the video. So we don't usually say, the speaker discussed in the video. No, that's completely wrong. So it is necessary to state what the speaker states, which is different marketing strategies. So we absolutely need an object. So we call it a transitive verb.
To try and remember how you arrived at this hotel. Can you do that?
Not sure they just arrived. Marked for stage 3.
If you wish to discuss the complaint, I suggest to make a proper appointment.
Transitive verbs. My dear friends, some other examples of transitive verbs are address, borrow, bring, discuss, raise, offer, pay, write, promise, and have. So these are examples of transitive verbs. Let me give you some examples. The instructor addressed the student's question. So address here is a transitive verb. Sarah borrowed the methodology book from her classmate because she forgot her copy. Can you bring your copy of the textbook to our study group meeting? So bring here is a transitive verb. Ted gave the gift to his sister. The committee members will raise money for the new product. Now let's speak about direct and indirect objects. A transitive verb can take more than one object. For example, Ted gave his sister a laptop. Right? Ted gave her sister a laptop. So, my dear friends, in this sentence, there is an indirect object, his sister, and a direct object, a laptop. However, there is another way to say this same idea using a prepositional phrase. Let me give you another example. So I'm gonna say it differently, like Ted gave a laptop to his sister. Ted gave a laptop to his sister. So in English, an indirect object may come between a transitive verb and the direct object, like the first example sentence about Ted. Or the indirect object could be in the form of prepositional phrase, like this example sentence about Ted. An indirect object is only needed if the action is being done to or for somebody. When using a transitive verb, you need to include a direct object, but you may not need to include an indirect object. Finding the object. You can figure out the direct object by using this question format. The subject did what? The subject did what? Okay, so the instructor addressed what? Actually, the student's question. This is the object. So the instructor addressed the student's question. Miriam borrowed what? Actually, the methodology book, right? This is the object. So you can figure out the direct object by using this question format. The subject did what? Can you bring what? Your copy of the textbook? The speaker discussed what? Actually, he discussed different marketing strategies, right? The committee members will raise what? Money. Money is the object. You can find the indirect object by asking the question, to whom or for whom, right? to whom or for whom. For example, Ted gave a laptop to whom? To his sister. And that's the indirect object. So you can ask the question to whom or for what. That's how you can find the indirect object. And my dear friends, an intransitive verb doesn't take an object. So using an object immediately after an intransitive verb creates an incorrect sentence. However, there may be other information after the verb, such as one or more prepositional phrases or an adverb. For example, we usually say the students arrived at their residency in London, right? So we don't usually say the students arrived London. So the second sentence is incorrect because the verb cannot take an object. So this is called intransitive verb. It cannot take an object. Now let's speak about intransitive verbs. Okay, guys? Some other examples of intransitive verbs are deteriorate, vote, sit, increase, laugh, originate, fluctuate, and trend. These are examples of intransitive verbs. So, as I said to you, intransitive verb doesn't take an object, right? It doesn't take an object. So, let me give you some examples. The patient's health deteriorated quickly. So, deteriorated here is an intransitive verb because it doesn't need an object. Ahmad voted in the local election. May I sit here? Attendance increased at the weekly study sessions as finals drew near. Susan laughed. So you can see these are some examples of intransitive verbs. My dear friends, do not forget this point that an intransitive verb can take more than one prepositional phrase or adverb. For example, the patient's health deteriorated quickly during the night. Or Ahmad voted for the incumbent in the local election. So as you can see, an intransitive verb can take more than one prepositional phrase or adverb. Now let's speak about verbs that are both transitive and intransitive. My dear friends, some verbs can be both transitive and intransitive depending on the situation. In some instances, such a verb may require an object, while in others, it doesn't require an object. So, there is a format reminder, and that's the verb, object, prepositional phrase, and adverb. So let me give you some examples of the verbs that are both transitive and intransitive, like continue. For example, we will continue the meeting after the break. So it's transitive, and we have an object here, and that's meeting. But in the second example, the meeting continued after the break. This is an intransitive verb. So continue can be both transitive and intransitive. Or play. For example, 3 of the students play the guitar. It's transitive, right? Or students will play outside today. That's intransitive. Return. Javier returned the book to the library. This is a transitive verb, right? Return. Or the students returned to school after the winter break. That's intransitive. Or grow, right? I grow zucchini in my garden. That's transitive. My daughter is growing quickly. That's intransitive, and we have no object. So as you can see, some verbs can be both transitive and intransitive depending on the situation. My dear friends, if you are unsure about using intransitive or transitive verb, you'd better check the dictionary. You know, guys, many dictionaries like Langman Dictionary, Merriam-Webster, the new version of these dictionaries can help you to understand if or whether the verb is transitive or intransitive. So there is a simple solution here.